And so you say, and so the guy says, boy, I got a kid can really, really sing. Great, great. That's good. Okay, let's talk about the other things.
Hi, this is Kevin Williams, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask Bill. Bill and Gloria Gaither have been writing and singing songs all over the world for decades. We've compiled some of the most asked questions of them throughout the years. Here's this week's question. What would you say are the characteristics for success?
I get asked many times, what does it take to do what we have done? And that's a good fair question. I talked to Donnie Wash a year ago at a lawn party in Indianapolis. Donnie has been the president of the Pacers, who has looked for talent out there, basketball talent, for years. And then Larry Bird came in, took his place, but he is still there, available for Larry anytime he wants to talk to him. But for years, he was the head procurer of basketball talent. And he said a statement which rings true in the art community. He said, talent will always seduce you. Any kid who's got talent. I mean, a kid can slam dunk, can do all the kind of stuff. He says, and this is in secular basketball. He says, character will always bite you in the fanny. He said, you are drawn to the kid with character, but the other traits, the personality stuff, how well does he get along with people? Is it all about him? Are there other people in the room? Is he teachable? Is he defensive? I mean, I don't mean can he guard on the basketball field. I mean, it's when you give him ideas, is he saying, well, I'm good at that. No, the reason I'm bringing this up is you're not good at that, and you need to work at that. We call that teachable. Is he a teachable person? In our field, does he love the Lord? If he's married, does he love his spouse? Is he a spiritual person? When spiritual things would come up on the bus, does he stay up by the dinette and discuss it with a cup of coffee, or does he go to the back? And I mean, he wouldn't say, I don't want to be part of this, but by his leaving says, I'm not interested. It's great to have Buddy Green on the bus, because Buddy's always saying, I was reading this morning in the Old Testament. It's tough for me to get in that Old Testament, all those big gats. Not Buddy, because he always has a parallel. The New Testament I can understand a lot better, But do spiritual things, do you gravitate to spiritual things? Is he more than just about music and chords and harmonics? Does he have anything else in his life? Is he interested in world affairs? Does world hunger tug at his heartstrings? And so the guy says, boy, I got a kid can really, really sing. Great, great. That's good. Okay, let's talk about the other things. Is he good at this? So there's a whole lot more. James Blackwood said one time, you have to have a degree of talent. That's a key that gets you into the room to even, be in this, whatever this is, this field. But after that, in his own words, he said, it takes a lot of hard work, diligence, perseverance. That's what Revelation's all about, perseverance, hanging on, staying in there to the very end. James is a good example. When he died at 78, 79, he was still giving it everything he had. Would he do it if he got nothing in return from it? I think I would actually get with four guys and try to form some harmony if nobody was around. I know I would. I've done it. I still do it. Does he love it? What drives him or her? So the bottom line is, it does take a holistic person. To me, good psychology is good theology. I mean, he really understands to give yourself away with no expectations of anything in return. You just give because that's the nature of what Jesus did. He just gave. If you would lose your life and find it in him. When Jesus said, he that would lose his life for my sake will find himself. But he that is busy holding on to it, you're going to lose it anyway. So you're going to either give it away or you're going to lose it. But boy, if you understand those kind of principles, which is good theology and it's also good psychology, you might be around when you're 80 years old. Still of value to somebody. But we have seen this in the secular world. The performer or the entertainer, it was all about him. And sad to say, we've also seen it in the Christian world. And they don't last for long. And sometimes they may last for longer than what you may think, but the bottom line is giving yourself away with nothing in return. Then you are where my kingdom will begin. That's what Jesus said. If you will give yourself away with nothing in return, then you, upon this rock, I will build my kingdom. So you better understand that, or else you're going to be depressed and disappointed.
When we sat down to record this, there was a painting of Bill's dad on the wall just next to it. He couldn't help but tell us some of his favorite George Gaither stories. He calls them George-isms.
Several things were said at my dad's memorial service because he was always making comments about stuff. Not very loudly. He didn't talk that much. In fact, Mark came to his funeral and saw him lying there in a casket. And he said, and he looked so peaceful and very, very quiet. And Mark said, "Are you sure he's dead?" He didn't talk much more than that when he was alive. But when he talked, you would listen. And he made a statement one time to me when I had some personnel problems with this individual, and I tried to make it work 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and I kept running into the same problem. And my dad made this statement to which you could find some fault with, but it's come back to haunt me several times. He said, people change, but after 40 or 45, they don't change much. Gloria doesn't like that. She said, well, if we really believe that, we better quit singing about amazing grace and transformational grace. And I believe in that too. But here again, I can remember J.D. Sumner says, when a man gets saved, he doesn't necessarily do anything for your brain. If you're an idiot, J.D. says, I wouldn't have said this, but J.D. if you're an idiot and you get saved, he doesn't necessarily do anything for your brain. If you're an idiot before you get saved, after you get saved, you're just a saved idiot. So Dad didn't say that, but I think what Dad was saying, even with a sinner who has come to the cross, his personality traits are still pretty much the same. And if he was a tad cantankerous before he came to the cross and became a Christian, it's probably going to be between now and when he gets to heaven, he's going to have to work every day on his cantankerousness, if there is such a word. So he would say after 40, 45, people change, Bill, but they don't change much. And I'm afraid in a lot of circumstances that's probably pretty true. Is he going to go to heaven? Sure, he's going to go to heaven, But he might have to have his own little corner as far as getting along with folks. Like the guy who went to heaven and they said, and these are these folks, these are these folks. He said, I said, "Who?" And I'm avoiding the denominations because I'll get criticized. So these were the Baptists, these were the Methodists, these were the Catholics, and with this one bunch, he said, "Shh, be very, don't say anything. They think they're the only ones up here." So people change, not much.
Well, Bill's not quite finished, but I want to quickly say that if you've ever been to a Gaither concert, you know that it's a time full of laughter, inspiration, and amazing music. You can check out Gaither.com to see when the tour will be in your area and to find out about special Gaither events.
I think back of all the Billy Graham crusades we did, including the very last one he did in New York. You talk about an experience. Those are great experiences. And the vocal band coming in and doing The King Is Coming in Nashville, and the whole crowd on their feet through the whole last verse. Hitting that high note at the end, praise God, he's coming for me. 60,000 people in the audience. I can remember the first time we did a Billy Graham crusade in Toronto. Cliff Barrows was so kind. He says, "Because He Lives" is Dr. Graham's favorite song. He said that at the time, I hope it was. So we sang "Because He Lives" and all of that. And he said there were 60,000 people, 70,000 people. Marianne's little boy, David, at the time was watching it on television and said, "Did he say there were 60,000 people?" My sister Marianne said, "Yes, he did." He said, "Boy, Uncle Bill's drawing some pretty big crowds these days." Marianne said, "Yes, he is. And Billy Graham's not doing too badly himself." Great memories.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Ask Bill, click the subscribe button to check out the other great clips on this channel. And if you have a question for Bill, leave us a message in the comments section.